What is good, people? Satsuki the Savage here, and today is day 10 of 12 Days of Anime. And today, I'll be giving you my top 5 anime episodes from this year, alright? Now, keep in mind the timing of this video because some of the fall anime that are airing have not concluded yet, and those last episodes might be great, but I haven't gotten there yet. And also keep in mind, just like the previous video, it's one episode per series. I'm not having 2 series on here because Fruits Basket could run away with some of these, but I'm not going to do that. But with that being said, let's get started. So before I start anything, I want to say, of course, there will be spoilers. So if you haven't watched the anime I'm talking about, or if you haven't reached the episode I'm talking about, I advise you not to watch it, all right? There will be timestamps though, so everything can be cool. Also, I want to add for my honorable mention, I'm choosing Vinland Saga episode 24. It has not aired yet, but that for sure will be the best episode of Vinland Saga. Trust me. For number 5, I have Mob Psycho Season 2, Episode 5. This episode was special for 2 reasons. For one, it was one of the best animated episodes of the year. The fight between Mob and Mogami looked crisp. The second reason is because this episode packed some good character checking moments, in particular, Reagan and Mob. Even though Reagan wasn't a focal point of this episode, his decision to stay with Mob while the potential for danger was still high showcases bravery and his belief in Mob. As for Mob, Mogami was testing his conviction to stay on the righteous path. Putting Mob in his parallel universe for 6 months where he had no powers and no safety net to lean on, he was isolated and vulnerable. However, with Dimple's intervention, Mob was able to pass the character check and remain himself, defeating Mogami and further expanding his legend as an Esper. Number 4, Karolyn Tuesday, episode 22. This episode was a little slow and had few moments that stood out, but it hit a stride towards the tail end and delivered with those key scenes. The most minor moment in terms of impact was Carol receiving a birthday gift from Tuesday, and that still was a good moment. When taking Carol's background into account, being raised as an orphan, never celebrating Christmas, and never getting a birthday present, that moment hit hard. The other scenes were the Grammy performances from the trio of Carol, Tuesday, and Crystal, and Angela. The trio performed a beautiful song called After the Fire, and the melody was nice, but more importantly, the lyrics were meaningful. The motive behind these lyrics, as Crystal said earlier in the episode, was to be the light among the darkness. It's an inspirational song telling you to rise again like a phoenix after experiencing turmoil. Very cleverly, that song was applicable to the pair that was working together, Ertegun, who recently recovered from going broke, and especially Angela, who had to endure a lot of bullshit, mainly the death of her mother. What exasperated the situation was the timing of it all. Dahlia lived vicariously through Angela, wanting to be a star and achieve an acclaimed award such as a Grammy, but died shortly before that dream could be realized. And then on Angela's side, with all of this negativity surrounding her, it seeped into her performance. While Angela was still great on stage, she was noticeably shaky and a tad bit out of tune, and eventually, Angela just collapses mid-performance. This episode showed us the progression of Karolyn Tuesday as artists, being able to perform at the Grammys and collaborate with a superstar like Crystal, while also showing us the breakdown of Angela. But like the song After the Fire foretold, Angela will make a comeback, shining in the final episode. Number 3, Dororo, episode 6. How I missed Dororo when it was hitting on all cylinders. With episode 6, we got the climax of the Mio arc and a glimpse of the monster dwelling within Hyakimaru. In retrospect, this episode was even more touching because knowing that Dororo is a girl, the aspect of Mio being a prostitute probably hit closer to Dororo. Prostitution was the one job Dororo's mother refused to take part in, and Dororo thought she was admirable for that, but seeing how Mio had to live taking care of amputee children, it was a route that Dororo couldn't shun, and I liked the understanding of both sides. Aside from that, we got a cool demon fight, but best of all was Hyakimaru's rage boiling over. After the death of Mio, Hyakimaru unleashed his fury on the murderous samurai with greater violence, and what made the scene better was hearing Hyakimaru lose himself and let out those foreign cries and emotions he's never felt. And the small scene of Hyakimaru clumsily cradling Mio's corpse with his sword limbs was a nice addition that intensified the tragedy of it all. On all fronts, I believe this was the best episode of Dororo from top to bottom. Number 2, Fruits Basket. Episode 17. Whenever I think of Fruits Basket and its excellent characterization, this is the episode I can point to as proof. Utani was my favorite character before I saw this episode, so an episode focused on her backstory was exactly what I wanted, and boy, did this episode deliver. In this episode, we see more of how Utani came to be friends with Toru and what her relationship with Toru's mom, Kyoko, was. When I tell you I got in my feelings, I can't lie, with this episode, I teared up multiple times throughout. There were so many impactful moments I could point to that made this episode for me. Seeing Utani struggle heavily to change for the better, all because she wanted to be Toru's best friend and someone she could take pride in. Seeing Toru's reputation be compromised because of her association to Utani, but her not caring about rumors and accusations in the slightest. Seeing Kyoko being a doting mother and a great mentor for Utani, guiding her to the straight and narrow. Emotions ran high for me, and the best part is, Fruits Basket managed to tell this sad story while still juggling comedy in a way that didn't put you out of the moment. I couldn't help but love these three delinquents because they were funny and endearing, and their role in the episode also displayed how Kyoko's teachings reached Utani because she was now the role model helping out the lost. The story of Utani came full circle, and I will always be amazed how Fruits Basket managed to have me as emotionally invested as I was with this episode. And number 1, Attack on Titan Season 3 Part 2, Episode 5. Here we are, the episode that wowed me the most, filled with a combination of good fights and character moments. To have Levi versus Zeke, which was an amazing scene, be eclipsed by an even better scene is amazing in itself, and from start to finish, this episode was great. Mikasa, John, Connie, and Sasha facing off against Reiner was cool, and what elevated that fight was Hanji coming in clutch and Mikasa's resolve to kill Reiner, trusting Eren and Armin to handle Bethal. On Armin's side, his plan needed courage that falls in line with the episode title, Hero. Armin's always had this low perspective of himself, feeling inferior to Mikasa and Eren, but the contrast of how Eren sees Armin made his sacrifice special. In Eren's view, Armin is more heroic than he is, which makes sense since Armin has this bravery that he doesn't even realize himself. What bravery is being able to overcome your fears, fighting in spite of cowardice, and Armin embodies that characteristic to a T. And then the callback, the parallel to the Battle of Trost arc with Eren going for the nape of the Colossal Titan was pitch perfect. It looked good and it meant a lot. Needless to say, the animation for this whole episode was top notch. Wit Studio was on their best game, so no complaints in that field. Overall, I feel like this episode was the most complete in every category you want to throw out there. Characterization, art, animation, soundtrack, pacing, whatever. This episode was a masterpiece. Alright people, that pretty much concludes the list. Let me know some of your favorite episodes from this year. But guys, that is it for me. Like, comment, subscribe. Satsuki the Savage, out.
Am I dying to live, or am I living to die? Living a lie, with my hands stressed out, see I'm stressed